Hello and welcome to the Be Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. Well, this is a first for me in the show. I have a 22-year-old, Krish Bajaj, who is currently in Mumbai, India for business, but also to see his family, but generally is located in NYC. Welcome to the show, Krish.
Thank you very much, B. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's quite awesome the fact that we've got your generation, the next generation in terms of leadership and business. And, I learned so much from your generation, your age group, and then there's my generation and my age group, and like well, I won't say old world because I don't see myself as old world, but you know, new experience up and coming, and then there's people like me who have had a lot of years of experience in business. I think we can learn a lot from each other. You're the founder and CEO of Roam, ROAM, in terms of Roam, and you have had this company since May of 2024. And I just want to remind the audience that you are only 22 years of age. So you started this when you were, 21, which is pretty incredible. And essentially, Roam is a platform that is helping international students navigate life in the US, from banking and SIM cards to insurance, visas, and the community, so they can land confident and save time and money. Rome was recognized as one of Poets and Quant's most disruptive business school startups of 2024 and profiled by NYU, New York University Stern. Krish, tell us about this because, when your profile came up and you were interested in coming on the pod, I was like, yeah, I'm super excited to talk to you. Yeah, how did you start the company? You must have seen something, you must have had your own lived experience to then tell us a bit about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Why don't I start with a story that led to how I incepted the idea for Rome? I got to New York in 2021 to study business tech and entrepreneurship at NYU. Took me about 3 entire weeks to get set up with the bare essentials, just my bank account, SIM card, and insurance. 3 whole weeks and a lot of in-person meetings to do this. The only thought on my mind was, why does it take so long and why is this not streamlined? Domestic students can do everything online in a matter of minutes, while international students have to go with extra proof of ID to stores or banks in person to get a SIM card, bank account, insurance, etc., etc. So, as a new student, I let it slide, not knowing what could be done. Until 2 years later, I noticed I was paying close to $5,000 a year just for these three services. And that's when it hit me, there has to be a better way to get this done. There have to be more affordable options out there. So I set out on a hunt to find those services. And lo and behold, there were plenty that were built to serve just immigrants or international students across every single field possible. We're talking banking, cellular, insurance, taxes, visas, loans, travel, food, job, housing, you name it, it was out there. So after doing a bit of digging and research and verifying that these services were legit and credible, I switched and saved myself about $4,000 that year, which got me thinking, was I the only student who didn't know these things existed? And I started reaching out to other international students on LinkedIn with a message saying I can save you money. So everyone hopped on a call.
Of course.
And out of the 50 so students, about 90+% of them said they were also paying between $4,000 and $5,000 a year and had never heard of these services. So then it got me thinking, the service providers are clearly doing something wrong. Got in the door with them, sat down, and it was pretty appalling because they had very, very large marketing budgets, but they were as frustrated that they weren't able to reach us as we were that they weren't able to reach us. So one thing that came out of that meeting was we noticed that competing with companies 1,000 times their size, companies that are serving all Americans through and through. Think a small fintech that was built to serve just international students with overseas banking services versus Chase, JP Morgan Chase. They were so overshadowed by the fact that Chase has a store, a physical presence in every campus that they couldn't reach students once they were already here. So two things became clear. Students were looking to save money, but businesses who were built to help them do that weren't able to reach them effectively. I asked both sides a simple question. I said, what if we were able to help you reach students before they left home? And to students, what if we were able to help you get set up before you left home? And to both, they were like, that would solve so many of our problems and save us so much time, money, and stress. We said, well, we can definitely build the bridge. And that's how Rome started. So now we're the bridge between these service providers based in destination countries, students based in the source country, helping them simplify their move abroad.
How cool. What a story. Like seriously, like were you still studying amongst doing all of this as well? Like what happened with your own study and yeah, how did you manage both? Because you go on this big research expedition. You're also then coming up with a business idea, a business plan, a business model. You're going up to the
So
big businesses. How did you continue to study as well?
absolutely. So lucky for me, I was towards the end of my academic worksheet. So my class list was narrowing down every semester. I graduated early. I graduated in December of 2024, 6 months before the rest of my batch, because I happened to take the maximum amount of credits that one could every single semester. So after doing that, the last 2 semesters I had were more winding down, where I had about 4 classes and then 2 classes, which worked out really well because this idea began to develop in December of 2023. By May of 2024, when I'd actually begun, I had more than enough time to give to it and really make it something. So yes, it was a bit of planning. Unknowingly, I happened to plan to favor building something, and that worked out well.
Did you ever in your wildest dreams think that you would be a founder and a CEO at the age of 2022?
22, absolutely not. But I had no doubt that I wasn't going to work corporate for a day in my life.
And why is
I
that?
just feel I just feel like I'm someone to give my all to whatever it is I do. But if I'm really going to do that, then I might as well do it for myself and a larger social impact than being a cog that very realistically put is fairly dispensable at our age in any machine. So if you start early, like with investing, I think everything compounds. So there's no harm in building something from ground up, no matter how young you are.
And how's it going? Like, how is the business? Like, do you have a team? How's it work? You said you started in May 2024, and within the first 2 months of establishing the business, you're obviously generating revenue. You had clients on board. Like, have you got a team in place? How does it work now? Like, has it
Yeah.
grown exponentially?
It has grown pretty quick, I would say. We're in a good place right now. Revenue has begun to flow. We are not yet profitable, I'll share that openly, but we're on our way there. We do have a team of about 12 people internationally, so about 4 or 5 in the US, another 7 in India. And the reason we've captured these two markets is because the US is the largest destination country, India is the largest source country.
Yeah.
So we said this makes sense to begin with. Now, in the recent past, we've expanded to new business verticals and to um, new source countries and destination countries. So we're looking at the US, the UK, Australia, Europe, and the UAE for where we can assist students when they move abroad to study. And for source countries, because we're based in India, we have easy access to the South Asian subcontinent. Yeah. So we're looking at Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Bhutan, the Gulf, anywhere students really leave from, we have network access to because a part of this team that I built came from all different backgrounds of education, higher education. So together, the team now has about 100 years of education experience with a network of about 3,700 different partners who work with students before they go abroad, such as college counselors, lenders, schools, universities, test prep agencies all across South Asia. So we have access to about 1 in 3 students leaving this region, and that gives us the ability to put out any service listed on the marketplace to that expansive audience.
Wow. And there's five generations in market at the moment in terms of, there's the boomers, there's, the millennials, the Zers, like, you kind of have to look at the younger up and comings as well, like, Alpha, etc. In terms of your 12 people team, you said there's over 100 years of experience. Have you got multi generations within the team as well? Or is it all?
Absolutely. The youngest person on our team, soon to be joining us, will probably be 19. The oldest person on our team, I won't disclose who, but I will tell you they're 47.
Okay, so just close to my age, which, yeah, wow, wow. And what do you see? Like, I mean, there's so many questions I have for you, but like in terms of, you made it very clear, just before that you would never work in corporate. You also talked about, social purpose, social impact, that mission, that purpose in terms of what your business is doing for the greater good, how you're helping students, but also then how you're working with the bigger companies so they both benefit, if you like. You know, what was my question? I just had it and then I've lost it again. But what are you seeing in terms of when it comes to the different generations within your team? Is there similarities in terms of style of leadership, style of working, or are you noticing quite different types, styles, and forms? And then how do you, being the age you are, and obviously your vision and your mission, like what are you noticing? What are you observing and seeing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I just put out a post on LinkedIn about this all of last week, I think,
I'll have to read it.
where I said age is just a number that shows how many years of experience you have. Everyone says you need a young team to move fast. I say you need old people willing to stay young at heart. So we have a team, Touchwood, that emanates that quality where, in fact, the people older on the team are quite excited to be moving quick because they've worked in corporate all their life and they're like, oh my God, it's so fascinating how fast we move. The one common trait I see is the willingness to learn, adapt, and grow
Mm.
because no matter how many years of experience they have, they're still fluid like water. So you give them some advice or feedback. I would call it feedback because I learn more from them than I think they do from me. But it's fascinating to see how experience combines with willingness to grow because you can do so much more so much quicker when you have these people with all these decades of knowledge and experience because you're guided to know that, okay, this may not work, but this will. And you bypass so many cycles of iteration, but you also go ahead and get in contact with people who they might have worked with 15 years ago. And now, because of that relationship that they formed all those years ago when they were colleagues and just starting out together, you happen to cut out really big business deals because everyone in their circle has also risen to the top of what they're doing in different companies. And each of these companies happen to be in education, which makes our network that much stronger. So it's a very good mix of we learn from them, they give us a lot of soft skills, I would say,
Yeah.
because the more time you spend around people, the more you understand how to deal with them, especially when things don't go your way. And I have many instances of times when those soft skills that they've imparted as wisdom have been of tremendous value versus anything else, more than anything else. So
Yeah,
very interesting dynamic.
yeah, because I love that because you just kind of nailed it. Like in terms of there's your experience in terms of new thinking, new fresh, ideas that, like you say, that adaptability, the formless, if you like. But then you've got this wise experience, which is almost reincarnating, rebirthing in terms of they're going from one existing form into this optimized new form, but yet you're getting the best of both worlds because you're getting that wise experience, that new experience, and putting that two together. Like anything is possible, right? In terms of that. When you booked in for the podcast, you and I asked you what's one unique insight when it comes to, insight or shared a lived experience when it comes to life leadership and or business. You've talked a little bit about this, and I want to delve into it a bit. But you said failure is a choice. Hence, adaptability is the most valuable skill. Tell us a
Yep,
little bit about
absolutely. Definitely. So I think I didn't see so much of what we do today. I didn't envision it because I think you learn to adapt on the fly. And at every one of these moments where I thought, oh, this is the end, there were doors that were opening. And after the first few times that I hit up against a wall like that, I noticed that you stop or you fail when you choose to stop. If you don't choose to stop and you search for an out or you search for an alternative, there is no end to what you can do because you're relentless. You're not willing to take no for an answer. You're not willing to back down. You're saying, okay, fine, this way didn't work, but this isn't the end. This is just a sign that don't go down this path, look that side, and then something else opens. So, just an example, Rome has shifted from just being a marketplace to an entire ecosystem
that.
because every time we were backed up against a wall, I found a new vertical that will further our mission and move us closer to simplifying global student mobility as a whole. Just to give you one small um, glimpse into what's happening. When we built the marketplace, we noticed we need to reach students before they left to study abroad. So they're calmer in their home country, they're feeling safe. And we had to reach them through someone they already trust, someone they've been working with for a while because buying health insurance is a big deal.
Yeah.
A lot of these students were first generation college students who never traveled abroad before, learn English as a second language with family incomes of about $15,000, but loan amounts of about $60,000. For them to trust us to buy insurance, it had to go through someone they're already comfortable with. So through this network of 3,700 partners, we were able to reach about 5,000 students in the last year and help all of them get sorted. But that opened up a very interesting door because we were like, this is a very expensive endeavor to maintain such a large network. What do we do about it? Is this it? And we serendipitously, maybe that's what it is, but we had banks, governments, universities reach out to us and say, hey, we've seen this network. Would you be able to help us gain access to students early on? We said, wow, this is a unique opportunity that I would not have thought of had I been like, oh no, this is too expensive a network. I just said yes for the sake of exploring. Turns out we were on the precipice of monetizing our entire distribution by launching a new service called Global Access, wherein we sell a subscription-based service to any institution that wishes to gain access to students in South Asia. And we assemble and operate a local team on the ground to carry out their activities. And we form partnerships between them and our network to unlock value depending on where we see that product fit best across demographics in this region. So that came out purely because one, I thought we were backed up against a wall. I decided to look out. Posting on LinkedIn, sharing a story, that's always been valuable. And opening doors for myself and the team, I think that's what it is. Being relentless and saying, you know what, this is a problem. We do have to fix it, acknowledging that and choosing not to stop, choosing to think out of the box and saying, you know what, maybe this is an opportunity, not a problem. And
Mm.
we can leverage this situation we're stuck in to now think differently and find an out.
Yeah, I love that because and I totally concur in terms of I think it's less about problem solving and more around solution finding, right? Like rather than looking at it like, oh my gosh, we've got this major problem here. I need to go on the solution hunt. I need to find a solution to the current, when you're up against it and you need to find a way around it. How much of it do you see as the ability to be able to relinquish control in terms of, do you see that there's a need to really, as a leader, CEO, founder, that you have to have that ability to be able to let go in terms of not hold on to the steering wheel as much as you'd like to in terms of being attached to outcome? Like, what's your view on that?
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite views to share. I don't think of the future as a probability. I think of it as a definite outcome where I can see myself living the life and having the business that I've envisioned all these years. But I don't see it as a vision per se. I see it as a memory of a future version of myself. With that level of certainty, knowing that it's going to happen and it's already happened at some point in the future, I'm not thinking about whether my next step is right or wrong. I have the faith and the courage to know that if I choose to walk down this path, somehow it's going to lead me to the right way. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong choice. The choice you make becomes the right choice because you put everything you've got behind it. So that thought process is saying I operate with this level of certainty that I know what I'm doing will yield a positive outcome. And I'm not too attached to what the next step is, knowing that eventually it'll yield what I've thought of all this time, what I've experienced, what I'm already living. So just bridging the gap between where I am now and where I am then in terms of what I can control. So whether that be habits, right? Waking up early, taking a cold shower, journaling, meditating, doing what I can to control the uncontrollable. That works well because I know there's way too much that's beyond anyone's control, but just doing what I can gives me a lot of confidence in the ability to make sure that any choice I make, I can get behind it and we're on the right path.
I love
It
that.
will
My
work.
God, you are wise beyond your years. I wish I was, had that, mentality when I was 2022. Tell us a little bit about AI and obviously the revolution we're in, and how much is that, in terms of how much is that playing a role in your business, in terms of you've got this platform, you've created this community, you talked a lot about soft skills, AI is an efficiency tool. It can accelerate the ability for us to be able to be doing the things we're meant to be doing as humans. And that's, like we talked about, the solution finding, the creativity, the innovation, the connections, tell us a little bit about how you're leveraging, if you like, AI and the tech revolution that we're in into your business.
Absolutely. Well, you put it really well. It is definitely an efficiency tool, and it does make it easier to do things that were manual previously. So I'll give you a few examples. One of the most customer-facing ways we use this is we created an interview chatbot, a coach, an AI interview coach that helps students prepare for their visa interviews. Given that most of these students have just learned, not just learned, but English is their second language, they're not too comfortable communicating, especially in under pressure. We said, okay, this makes sense to put something out as a free service for students to get prepared before they go and sit in front of a visa officer. So we took a bunch of interview transcripts that we sourced from students and we said, hey, if you've passed, please send it. If you failed, doesn't matter, please send it. And we gave it to AI and we said, hey, you need to emulate the role of the officer. And that product that we put out, we named her Sonia as the world's first AI-powered visa interview coach. And about 13,000 people used Sonia to prepare for the interview. So that was quite interesting to see. Yeah, so that's a public facing view of what was previously done through paid conversations and counseling sessions between students and counselors who were definitely not emulating what the visa officer would sound or look like. So we said AI could do a better job with the accent, with the appearance, everything. And it's a bit more intimidating than having someone with your accent, your background speak to you casually with a bunch of questions that you may be asked. So that was one application. Beyond that, there's a lot behind the scenes that we use to debug code sometimes, or write new code, or design. Anything to do with tech is now a lot easier. Anything to do with outreach is a lot easier because you can search for people that much
Easier.
with that much less friction. Yeah, that much easier. Exactly.
Yeah, amazing. And what about for you? What do you see as the qualities of a leader in today's, like today? Like, what do you see as the top three qualities that a leader needs as part of this, rapidly changing world that we're living in?
hmm Again, very, very thought-provoking question. This is one I haven't been asked before. So
I,
I would
I
say
do ask thought-provoking questions, Krish, and I've got two more to ask of thought-provoking, and then I'll let you get back to your day.
amazing. No, I'm enjoying this. So I'm all for first principles thinking,
Oh, yeah,
foundation
same.
methods of thinking, because that is a constant.
Hmm,
No matter what changes, if you simplify things down to the very bare skeletal way of people, uh, it's all the same. So one thing I would say that is the single most powerful trait is understanding people. It's all about people. I'm definitely not the smartest in the room, nor do I. If we look at everyone's resumes, I'm the least qualified person in the team, but one thing I have learned to be able to do is tell stories, inspire those around me, align them on a shared vision, and make them feel valued such that they're willing to give it their all to make it happen. So, one is being able to empathize and go really, really deep in understanding what drives someone, why they feel driven, what they're scared of. Just understanding people as a whole, which comes from asking a lot of questions. So, people is point one. Point two is I had this a second ago.
take your
Uh,
time.
yep, thank you. What was it? Okay, we'll come up with a new point too.
It'll come back. You
Point,
know what happens to me? I start talking, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm back. I've got it. Like it happens to me all the time.
yeah. Okay, let's hope that comes back. But definitely all about people. Second to that is yes, empowering others. So my that was the point. Thank you.
Yeah, thought it would come back.
The only job you really have as a leader is you're wearing about 100 hats when you first start something. I'm sure you've experienced this too. You're doing the finance, accounting, outreach, marketing, building, selling, everything.
Don't get me
Your own
started.
is to find the people who can do that role 10 times better than you can and take that one hat off your head and make them wear it. So that faith and the trust you need to have in your people is immense. And that also, I think it's all about people still. So going back on that wave, I might not have three things, but I'm going to drop bits and pieces of what's really helped me, if that's all right.
No, that's cool.
So praising in public, criticizing in private, making people feel seen and valued around others, not incentivizing them, but praising them for their ideas, giving them the autonomy to think freely, letting them take part and ownership in what it is you're building. Because a company is nothing more than a group of people.
Agree.
When you learn how to work with a group of people, you can do wonderful things. And another principle we follow is 1 plus 1 can never equal 2. The way we hire is meticulous. So if a new hire doesn't just elevate the team linearly, they also need to make sure that everyone around them does better because of their presence. So we look for complementary skill sets. What does this person bring to the table that no one else here has, so that when they synergize, the outcome is 1 plus 1 equals at least 3. In a best case scenario, it's closer to 11. So we look at stuff like that. And then managing being human. I think people get lost in that aspect where they're like, oh no, we have to make this happen. We're under pressure because The way I word it, startups are nothing more than organized chaos.
100%.
There
Talking
is
having this
no
conversation today.
Exactly. The uncertainty is at times unbearable if you're not human. So making sure that you're giving enough time to yourself, to your team, and understanding one another, but also managing everyone's energy levels. So this is one thing that I've instated personally and given everyone insight into feeling free to do if they wish, is to color code the calendar
Oh,
by
yeah.
what events they have that are draining or giving them energy. So we have red for long meetings or anything that's going to drain you. Green for any meetings that excite you, events that excite you, going to give you energy, and yellow for stuff that is just work that you have to do. And I say balance it out. Make sure that you take it upon yourself to ensure that your calendar looks colorful enough and it's not overburdened
I
by any
love
one thing.
that. I've just taken
So
that
it,
tip. Because I'm all about color
yes,
coding, but it's more around color coding so that creative pattern recognition so you know this
exactly.
green equals this, but I hadn't thought about it from an energetic perspective. I love that.
Exactly why I think the team does a good job. And sometimes you do have to slow down to go fast.
Yes.
So I think the more free flowing and the more certain, confident, and grounded you are, the more opportunities you attract. Because if you operate from desperation, you're blocking off a lot of doors that would otherwise open for you. Exactly.
I love it. So just on that, two final questions. Life work flow,
Mhm.
what does that look like for you in terms of startup, like you said, is crazy. You've got a team of 12, but as the CEO, as the
Mhm.
founder, you're constantly thinking about the business. How do you ensure that you bake in that active recovery? You talked about in your meditation, you're powering up in the mornings. What else do you do? And then how do you ensure that the business and the team have that healthy, that integrated life work flow. I don't believe in balance, but the flow of life and work. How do you
Yep.
ensure that?
I look at it like a pendulum or a wave of sorts. There are days where everyone is on 24/7, and there are days where no one has to be on at all because nothing's going on. And I think that's one misconception people have about startups is it's 24/7 grind. No, it's not. Nothing is 24/7 grind. But what I've seen work really well is consistently putting in effort every single day so that when there is time or when you do need to take a break, you can just take a break. So, of course, everything's measured, but the way I personally manage it is I like waking up before everyone else. Everyone else a few hours before everyone else. I read this book called The 5 a.m. Club.
Oh yeah,
Have you read it?
yeah. I haven't read it, but I know about it. Yeah.
Exactly. So they have this 60-minute morning routine split into blocks of 20. Wake up at 5 a.m. Reason behind it is fascinating. It's the time where no one is awake. It's that sweet spot where the
Yeah.
night owls have gone asleep and the morning risers haven't woken up yet. And that is the 1 hour of the day where you are completely by yourself. Now, the routine itself was quite interesting. I adopted this during my last year of college, of university, where you wake up at 5, 20 minutes of movement. Reason, if we have a few minutes, I'd be happy to walk you through
Yeah.
why it is the way it is.
Yeah, I've got a few more
So,
minutes, and then I've got one.
yeah,
Then I want you to answer a question. Well, ask me a
that
question, and then that's it.
sounds good. So 20 minutes of movement, because movement stimulates something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is a protein that's released that stimulates neuroplasticity,
Yes.
primes your brain to absorb information. Second is meditation, because this lowers your heart rate after having moving, which lowers cortisol, which is already at a low when you wake up, and subdues the prefrontal cortex from activating, which means the part of your brain responsible for conscious thought is remained turned off for that much longer. So you're not reactive, you're still proactive, you're still in that blissful state
Strategic.
of calm. Exactly. And the last thing is movement, meditation, and learning. So I started reading a book in those final 20 minutes after that. And by 6 a.m., I had moved, I had meditated, I had learned something. whatever I learned in those last 20 minutes were like imprinted in my brain. And after this, I would go to the gym. So by the time it was 9 a.m., which is time to start working, I'd done everything I could possibly want to do for myself. And when the team came online, I just had the rest of the day to give to that. But I didn't feel burned out because I'd taken the time to get started
You
early.
cup up, power up.
That did hit. Yeah, I think everything has sacrifices. So I did let go of quite a bit of a social life at the time, but it more than paid off. So very, very happy about stuff like that. And now amidst all this travel, it's been a bit hard to maintain. So it's getting there. But good thing is practices like these influence the entire team to take time for themselves, whether it's
100%.
before or after. So I think the only way to lead is by example.
Love
If
it.
you don't do it yourself, you can't expect anyone in your company to do it. If you want your company to grow 100x, you need to figure out how to grow 100x yourself first. So, yeah.
You're good. And I've asked you so many questions. And I generally ask at the end of the show, can you please give us a piece of advice while I ask a question? But I'm going to flip it on its head because I've asked you so many questions and you've answered them so well. What's one question you'd like to ask me?
That's a great question. Let me have a thought. What is one contrarian view you think you have or you've taken on life that has got you further than you thought it would?
Gosh, that's a good one. I think it happened 3 years ago, if I'm honest. When I was telling you pre-show and I, scaled a business and hit I was at the top of my game and, the business was running 20 million annually from a revenue perspective. I had 150 staff and there was just something in me that was just knew I was there. I just knew there was more out there. I didn't know what it was. And I had a choice. I could have kept pursuing what I knew was in front of me and that I had been doing for 25 plus years. But instead, I decided that I needed to take to jump off a cliff and go into the deep unknown. And whether that's contrarian or not, I decided that the linear path that I had been following for the past 25 years was no longer serving me. And so I decided to maneuver into a non-linear path and a non-linear way because that's what I truly believe is the future of life, the future of leadership, and the future of business. And so there I was at the bottom of this cliff, if you like, bottomed out, looking around, looking up, going, how the hell do I get back up? How the hell do I get out of this place? And there were so many times I wanted to just jump back up to what I'd known and where I'd been. But instead I had to sit in it and I had to learn, unlearn, relearn, and also incorporate, the ability to sit with myself and my thoughts and be present to then be able to build the business I'm building now. I don't
I
know if
think
that
that's
answers your
fascinating.
question, but that's pretty much, yeah.
I think it does. I think not staying the path is a very defining character trait. Not staying the path, but being excited to jump off a cliff is a very exciting character trait. Very exciting character trait of everyone who's built something great.
And
Like
it's still, yeah.
when everything's good, you seem to get bored. We like being uncomfortable is something I've noticed.
Mm.
And doing it over and over and over is the only way to keep going up and up and up.
Yeah. And it's the unknown, right? And like I'm still very much, this is the formless for me. It's constantly evolving, shaping, reshaping. But I truly believe that is the future and that's the world we're living in now. And so my mission and the impact I want to make in the world is exactly that. How do you thrive? How do you continuously allow yourself to evolve, step into that unknown with courage and the ability to shape, reshape, whether that's in life or leadership and in business. That's
Absolutely.
that's the future, and that's the world we're living in now. So on that note, Krish, thank you so much for that question. That was I enjoyed that, and I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you. I feel like we're going to connect further after this. I know we will, and we'll probably chat about. I'm going to ask you for advice. You're going to ask me for advice. But how do we find out more about Rome? How do we find out more about you? Yeah, and the programs and the community, etc.
Definitely. So the link to Rome is www.rome.college. That's pretty out there. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you'd like to follow along, feel free to drop me a connection request there. I'd be more than happy to chat. And we share a lot about business, life, learnings, leadership, everything on LinkedIn and Instagram. So if you're looking at what we do for students, Instagram's the place. That's also Rome.college. LinkedIn is just my name, Krish Bajaj. Has a tiny little globe next to it
Yeah.
for like every Rome employee does. So we're distinctively identified. But yeah, I think it's easy to follow along.
Thank you so much, Krish. It's been an absolute pleasure and joy talking to you. I can't wait to continue to watch you flourish as not only a human but also in terms of in business and in leadership. Watch out, world is all I can say. So enjoy the rest of your day and thank you.
Thank you so much, B. Take care.
You too.